bandy the term hero about far too easily these days, but blimey, mate, you've got to be up there, haven't you? Do you feel like a hero this morning?
I don't know how I feel. I'm just incredibly honoured to be nominated for such an award. 2 years have passed very quickly, but I still remember the incident like it was yesterday. So yeah, we'll see what today brings. I'm very excited.
Take me through what you remember, as I say, because obviously details were coming through, and there's some things that police can say at the time and that emerge later, and so those are the details as we knew them sort of almost immediately. But what do you remember of how it all unfolded for you, Michael?
Well, at the time, I was actually across the road, quite literally about 30 seconds away. I was taking a statement from a member of staff at a shop on unrelated matters, completely unrelated, when I was approached by somebody else, a member of the public, who said there was a disturbance near the bank. I had no other details than that. I didn't know what I was going to. I came down from the top of the shop where I was taking a statement and across the main street of Atherstone, to be faced with, well, as you just heard, carnage, more or less.
What was the scene that you they got the cash machine out by then, had they? And
they'd got a certain amount of money out, yes. However, they weren't expecting a police officer to be there so quickly.
No.
And as I approached them, they were in the midst of travelling from the back of the bank to another vehicle that wasn't mentioned on your report then, that was used as a getaway car. Was it immediately apparent to you that they were they very visibly armed? One of them was, yeah. I could see that straight away. The other 3 were in the process of going backwards and forwards from within the bank, getting the money out, I would presume. As I approached them, the handgun was pointed straight at me.
When you say a handgun, what like a pistol, revolver, or what kind of thing are we talking? Could you tell?
Yeah. It was a small black handgun, and that's how I describe it and how I did describe it.
Yeah.
It was pointed at me, and I instantly reacted by drawing my taser. There was a short standoff between me and that gentleman.
Yeah.
Luckily, he didn't fire at me or fire at anybody else. As he turned to get into the car to make off, I ran after them. They got away, but luckily the inquiry commenced, and in October of last year, 3 of the men were convicted at court and were sentenced to 40.5 years in total for numerous firearms offences around Warwickshire and West Midlands. So,
and the taser that you had, is it the firing version or the close contact version?
It is the firing version, but the distance between us was too great for it to have any impact.
And you knew that?
I did, but what I didn't want to do was I didn't want to sort of walk away from it. I wanted to show that I wanted them to stop, and I needed to protect the community around me. So I was never going to sort of back away. Pointed the taser at him, and he reacted by pointing the handgun at me.
Wow.
He, like I say, didn't fire. I knew my taser wouldn't have any sort of impact from the distance we were away from each other.
Yeah.
However, obviously he didn't know that, and it caused him to stop what they were doing.
It's like a hugely upped anti-version of a game of poker or rock, paper, scissors, isn't it? I mean, you know that your weapon is not going to be effective against him. You don't even know whether his gun is real or is a replica. All of those things, do they go through your mind, Michael? I mean, the fact that you're thinking to yourself, I can't let him know that he's got the upper hand on this now.
Well, absolutely. There wasn't much time to think.
No.
We're talking seconds between me arriving on the scene and being faced with the handgun. It was just an instant reaction. Of course, that went through my mind. I knew that I was, if it did go wrong, I was going to be on the losing side, so to speak. But luckily, he didn't fire. And with me being there, disturbed them, and they made off halfway through the armed robbery, and away they went.
I mean, the other thing is as well, you are quite heavily outnumbered,
yeah.
And so even without weapons, I mean, you still are in a very vulnerable position. What about afterwards? Because I mean, as you say, I mean, you've said it a couple of times now. You know, you kind of, and actually, interestingly, there's a piece in the paper saying to be a hero, act first, think later. And as you say, there's not a lot of time to think. What about after the event, when it all calms down and the adrenaline sort of seeps away? Yeah. How were you left by the whole situation? I
must admit that the police force looked after me. and I was okay. I was okay. I think my main concern when I arrived on the scene was the people around, the members of the public, the children, people going around their daily business. They don't want to be subject to such a thing, and that was my instant reaction, was to stop what's happening, disturb it, and if possible, catch them. Unfortunately, they got away because they had a car engine running, and I was only on foot. But after the incident, certainly you take stock and you do think, wow. But at the time, there's no time to think. You don't have that. You don't have that pleasure, so to speak.
And did you have counselling after this? I mean, is it because you said the police looked after you, and I just wonder whether psychologically it affects people in different ways, doesn't it? I mean, does it still affect you now, or not?
No, it doesn't actually. I suppose. I'm quite lucky in that it hasn't affected me. I am still carrying on. I do the same thing. I've been a police officer now for 12 years, and the police force offered all the help that I may need. My supervision were incredibly good, and like I say, it's nice today to get the recognition for what happened that day. But it's not just myself who's here today. There's I think there's about 60 police officers from around the country, from 34 forces, who have been nominated for their own incidents that have happened, and bravery awards. So it's not just myself. It just shows that the police officers in the country on a daily basis really do put their lives on the line.
I think the public get that as well. I mean, we were just talking, we had some guys and girls from the Royal Navy earlier on, and I was saying to them both on and off air how much people appreciate the work that they do and the bravery, because, you know, a lot of the time we probably haven't got the guts to do what you guys do, and I think it extends to the emergency services as well. In your, what do you say, 12 years as a copper, do you think is this probably the most dangerous thing that's happened to you so far?
Yeah, without a shadow.
You don't do this every week then, do you?
No, not at all. This is by far the biggest incident that I've been subject to, and hopefully the last.